Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Fatma Tells podcast. Today, let us talk about what it means to be optimistic. A lot of people confuse between naivety and optimism because they think that being positive, cheerful, and hopeful means that you are not being realistic or that you have not experienced life well enough yet. And of course, this is a huge misconception because the truth is that we have all experienced life. But the optimistic ones of us are the ones winning at life. Optimism is not about denying reality. It is not about ignoring difficulties or pretending that your life is perfect. Optimism is a mindset. It is a way of thinking. It is a choice that you make to believe that tomorrow can and will be better, that challenges can be overcome, and that even in the hardest times, there is always something worth holding on to. As you know by now, the season of the podcast is based on the science of positive psychology. So, let me tell you what research and science says about being optimistic. Based on research, optimists are healthier, they're more resilient, and they bounce back faster from challenges. They're also more enjoyable to be around, and their outlook on life is just contagious. When you are with someone who sees the light in different situations, you will start to feel lighter too. Now, Martin Seligman, the father of positive psychology, he makes a really interesting point. In order for us to understand optimism, we must also look at the opposite, which is pessimism. Because the way that we explain the good and the bad things that happen in our lives actually shape how hopeful we feel about the future. So let us pause here and think about this. When something good happens in your life, like maybe you got a promotion at work, how do you explain it to yourself? Do you think that this promotion was just luck? Or do you think that you worked so hard that you deserve it? On the contrary, when something bad happens to you, like maybe a project at work didn't go well or you face rejection, do you see it as something that is permanent? Do you think that you will never succeed? Or do you see it as something that is temporary? And you say, okay, today didn't go really well, but I can try again tomorrow. This is exactly what Martin Seligman talks about when he compared the two, optimists and pessimists. Optimists tend to see the positive events as lasting, and they see the negative events as something that is temporary. Pessimists, on the other hand, they flip it around. When something good happens, they will start to tell themselves, this won't last. And when something bad happens, they think it is going to last forever. Optimists always keep their problems specific. So, for example, if they fail a test, they are going to think, I have failed this test because I did not study well enough. But when a pessimist fails a test, they think, I'm just not smart enough. This is why I failed. Here's the important part that we need to know. These thought patterns, they create a sense of hope, or they're going to create a sense of despair. Optimism and pessimism are habits. They are ways of thinking. But the beautiful thing about that is that our habits and our ways of thinking can be changed. Let me be clear. Optimism does not mean ignoring risks blindly. It does not mean hoping for the best. There are times when being overly optimistic might not exactly be helpful. For example, if someone that you care about is struggling, it is not always helpful to push them to just be positive, because sometimes the most caring thing that we can do is sit with them, listen to them, and give them time before we start to encourage hope. But apart from situations like these, of course, cultivating optimism is one of the best things that you can do for yourself and for others. I know that it's tempting to sometimes just replay old mistakes in our heads, but we need to be aware that every time that we do that, we are giving power to pessimism. Instead, we need to gently shift our focus towards what lies ahead of us, because our energy and our focus belongs to the present moment and, of course, to the future, not in past regrets, not in something that we cannot change anymore. So, next time, when good things happen to you, just pause for a second and recognize what is your role in that happy moment. What did you do to contribute to this success? Was it your persistence? Was it your kindness, your creativity, your patience? What was it? Because the truth is that good things don't just appear in our lives. We are the ones who shape them. And trust me, when you start to notice that, you will also start to build trust in yourself. Every one of us has unique strengths, and the more that we use these strengths, the stronger that they will become. And this is what optimists do. They rely on their strengths when life gets really difficult, because they know that they have the inner resources to draw from. So think about your strengths and always look for ways to use them intentionally in your day-to-day life. Another thing that helps is learning to see the world in a positive way. Again, just to be clear, We don't mean that we ignore or sugarcoat our problems. What we mean is choosing what to focus on. I'll give you an example and an experiment to try. Choose a day where you will only focus on the good qualities in the people around you instead of focusing on their flaws, because we tend to do that. And keep doing this experiment a couple of times, and trust me, you will start to see how quickly your perspective will change. If this experiment does not necessarily work for you, especially if you do not spend a lot of time around other people, try keeping a gratitude journal. I'm sure that you've heard of that before. So the point is, every day, notice all of the blessings that you already have and stop focusing on what you are missing. Of course, we tend to do that a lot. Finally, pay attention to who you spend your time with, because as we said, energy is contagious. This is backed by science, by the way. If you surround yourself by people who always complain, or people who always expect the worst in situations, trust me, it is going to drag you down. On the other hand, when you spend time with people who are hopeful and positive, the ones who easily laugh, the ones who don't like to exaggerate their problems, you will naturally start to feel lighter and happier. You'll be surprised by the huge shift that will soon happen in your life. And once you start to feel that way, congratulations, you have become an optimist. So, let me bring all of this together. Optimism is not about pretending that your life is perfect. It is about training your mind to see the challenges as temporary, to keep your problems in perspective, and to hold on to hope for your future. It is a choice, and it's also a practice. And remember, optimism does not make you feel better in the moment. It helps you to stay healthy, to build stronger relationships, and to navigate the ups and downs of your life with more grace. Before I wrap up, I want you to ask yourself a couple of questions. When challenges will come to your life, and of course, challenges will come because that's life, ask yourself, how do I want to explain this challenge to myself? Am I going to tell myself that this is permanent and overwhelming? Or will I remind myself that it is temporary, that it is specific, and that it's something that I can handle? It is your choice. And the choices that you keep making will determine your future. I will not leave you alone in this journey. I created a worksheet to help you reflect on your own optimism and to help you practice the habits that we mentioned in your day-to-day life. You'll find the worksheet in the shop section of my website. So go to www.fatmatells.com or click the link in the description box below. Thank you so much for making it all the way to the end. I hope that you found today's episode to be beneficial, and I hope to find you again in my next episodes.